2022. All right, welcome to the next prioritization working group, although we might discuss potentially changing its name today. But it's, what is it? It's August the 9th, 2022. Eric, you have the first item if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that since we took the approach of type ignore to help people struggling with categorization, that we defined it appropriately for people. So it's not, oh, I'm having trouble typing this. It doesn't need a type. It's not a product backlog issue. That should be the definition. And just I know Wayne's not here, I believe, right? So he's got his async comments in there, and then Mac, you're here if you want to vocalize yours.
Yeah, I can cover Wayne's. It looks like we merged the handbook direction to adopt the type ignore, and then there's Mac if you want to cover what needs to be done to actually operationalize it.
Sure. So the labels have been created in both the GitLab.com and GitLab.org group. I think Lily has already updated the dashboard to not include the types. Is that correct, Lily?
Yeah, for both issue type and MR types dashboard, we are removing any issues that have the type ignore label.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And then what's remaining is we would want to update the engineering metrics dashboard to call out that this new additional type, and then update any automation to account for this label going forward.
Yeah, I added a link to we'll see if it works. I attempted to do that last week. So there is an MR for updating the automation to exclude that type, as well as changing the note in the prompt to advise that people can use that if they don't feel it's appropriate.
I remember reading a comment saying that the type ignore is not intended for merge requests. It's only for issues. Is that true?
Right. I don't think we wanted to include that on merge requests. It was just for issues. Those were all the identified use cases for things like planning issues or more kind of meta, but I think MRs are pretty clearly tied to product work.
If that's the case, then if an MR has a type ignore, do we want to warn people to not use it or exclude them from the chart and label them as undefined? I think we need to be really clear here so people know what to use.
I think we should label them as, or alert on don't use, right?
Okay. So
well, I don't, well, I maybe others can tell. What's a use case where an MR would truly need to be ignored from the outputs we're looking at?
Right, because
it'd be like a handbook, my handbook MR. Would that ever happen?
I guess maybe, yeah. Those wouldn't.
That's in a different project though. That's in the GitLab com namespace and not
right
GitLab org where the source code is.
So we have to account for that in the automation.
So Mac, yeah, in the automation, then it's a warn when that one's used.
Okay, we'll take it up with Jennifer, who's jumping in to help out.
Cool. So it sounds like we're good on this one. So we can move on to 2. Eric, do you want to vocalize this suggestion on the phases?
Yeah, I think this was the product of a one-on-one David and I had last week, where we've got a lot of exit criteria. I think it's all good stuff, but just to make sure we're focused on the highest priority stuff, something we've done in other working groups is say, like, here's phase 1, so we're working on, this is phase 2, just so we don't delete it, forget about it. And I think it is possible that people get that when they can start to realize the value of the data. Like I saw a PM on an issue say, hey, I started to use this data and it allowed me to prioritize more features. It's like, yeah, great outcome. So like once that starts happening, all this data hygiene stuff might just start taking care of itself, right? Because everybody gets it and just doing it because they naturally see the value. So we may not need to do phase 2. But I thought it might be a good way to kind of organize ourselves and focus versus the very large list of exit criteria we had today. And then I think David and I are also talking about like we've been pushing a lot on data hygiene around issues, which is input. In retrospect, if knowledge were perfect in time for infinite, we would have started with MRs, right? So like, it's like, oh God, but should we stop worrying about issue hygiene, or because we're so close, should we just push the last 5% and call it done and then move on to whether it's subtypes or MR or the next thing? My instinct is kind of like, gosh, we're so close that I'd rather just finish it, but wanted to raise both options here.
Yeah, I left a comment here. I like the phased approach. I think I've been a part of a handful of working groups that have taken that and it's worked pretty well. I was clarifying what the phases would be. So I'm assuming what you mean, Eric, is the first phase is everything we've already done plus driving MRs to completion in terms of like undefined and dashboards and reporting. And then the phase 2 would be the issues.
Yeah, but like I said, like if we're really that close with
Yeah,
issues, maybe we should just finish that. Otherwise, it looks kind of like a flip-flop.
it's kind of related to my comment on the what I put under 5. Like there's an OKR for doing this, and I suggested to Wayne that instead of having 2 different one stage do issues and one stage do MRs by September, which is what he was goaling on, to actually do it on a single stage. So I think if we were phasing, another phase proposal could be like by September 1st, we have one stage complete end to end with everything we want. And then by October 1st or November 1st or something, then we have the entire org versus like MR's first, issues second.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense to me.
If others are cool with that, I can take an action to write up a proposal on phasing it that way. And that would align with the OKRs Wayne has.
You write that down. Let's be explicit.
Yeah, I will. Sorry, I was doing a bad job taking notes. So where are we? Phase 1, I'll just put it here. My gosh. I'm making updates here, but stage is 100% complete with all MR and issue type labels, subtypes, and complete dashboards by November 1st. Again, dates are flexible here. All groups across R&D. So it still phases like Eric's suggesting, but instead of breaking it up to like MRs and issues, we start with a single, we could be a stage, it could be a section, and then we do the rest of R&D as the second phase. I think we still achieve the focus like benefit that you get from phasing things. But it also like we are close on the issues, just not for all groups. Eric, you're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, sorry. You have a complete example to show people of the benefits sooner. That's the
Right.
benefit I like. And you have people that can evangelize it for you. So it's not us making decisions in a working group. It's people doing it or getting value out of it. And others will see that.
Are you good with that, Christopher?
The question I have is we're kind of midstream here. What are you telling the other stages in the meantime? Are you telling them to not do anything? Or are you telling them to just not look at statistical information?
No, I think they can. Yeah, it's a good question. I think they can continue on as is, but in terms of what our focus would be in driving things to completion, we would push harder on that, whatever stage it is, right? And so if it's Wayne was proposing, I think Darva signed up, if it sounds correct, and then I was suggesting we ask Sarah to, as Darva's counterpart, to sign up versus having Secure do it for issues. So we have, to Eric's point, like a complete example of one group that we can use. So it's more of what we're focusing on driving than teams are unblocked. Like they can go, especially we've unblocked this type thing, right? So we have the type ignore, they can go adopt it all day, but our focus is to get one team over the line, react to the feedback from that team, iterate if we need to, and then to drive complete adoption, we do that as the phase 2.
Okay, I'm good with that. Thanks.
Okay, I will start an MR then.
And we can more excited, by the way. Dev is a larger team, so that's going to be more statistically interesting.
Right.
Well, it's just create and dev though, Christopher, not all of dev.
Well, create's still the biggest, right? Like,
yeah,
statement's accurate. Yeah, misaligned terminology, but the statement is still accurate.
Yeah, I was gonna add to it, and you all can decide if this is going too far. I was actually gonna propose create and plan. And the reason, and we need to ask Melissa and John if they're okay with that. Creates a lot of maintenance effort And so when you talk to like a Kai or an Eric or a Torsten, like they know they're not going to be at 60%, whereas plan has a lot of more feature development. And so now you'd be able to see statistically relevant for teams that are supposed to be more in a maintenance focus versus teams that are in more of a new feature development focus.
I like to
I
keep one
like
stage.
that.
Okay,
I'm
that's
very
fine.
stage, like focus.
So we backed off of targets, right? So the first thing is just like make the data correct to whatever it is you're doing. And that's the ask. So there we don't apply pressure to be at 60% or not be at 60%.
Other stages want to proactively do stuff. That's fine, but like I think we should just focus on one stage and just getting it right for one stage.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm being ambitious, Christopher, and trying to show it working on both sides of the equation.
I'm also in this, by the way. So like let's make sure we're clear that the lack that we're choosing one doesn't show a lack of ambition.
And it's picking one button, having them ready by September 1st, right? That's pretty ambitious. So, okay, I will take the action MR. The only other suggestion I had on this one, Eric, was can we adjust the near zero target in the exit criteria to be precise? I'm okay if it's super ambitious. It's just having an actual percentage point instead of saying near zero. So there's not fuzzy room for interpretation.
Yeah, near zero is fuzzy, agreed. It is interesting to me, like again, I'm like I think it can't be zero. And like what we just said a couple minutes ago was we don't even need type ignore for MRs. That's how clear it is, right? So if you have type ignore for issues, why not zero, right?
So
but
we could say zero.
whatever is most consumable to people. Yeah, I mean zero would be precise, but if it just sounds unapproachable because people haven't had the chance to calibrate and ask questions, and you want to do 1%, I'm good with 1%.
Okay, let me look at it and think about it. I think with no one knows about type ignore yet. I think people will react strongly if we're saying 0 or 1% and they don't know that option is available. So maybe we make sure that rolls out cleanly first and then we adjust, but I'll think about it and I'll put together an MR and propose something.
Cool.
Do we know if we have a good adoption from the quad UX and quality in dev and create and dev? So we have examples there. Anything we need to do?
Are you asking if we do now or will we?
If we do now.
My sense is that they're interested in adopting it. I don't know if we have strong adoption yet.
Okay.
But we can look at it. Others might know though. I haven't paid as close of attention probably. Okay, let's go to 3. Eric, you want to vocalize this?
Yeah, I think we had good intent trying to pick a future-proof name for the working group, but it's led to a surprising amount of confusion once we actually name the process. So I suggest we change our original intent and just pay the 15-minute MR switching cost and rename this group just to eliminate that confusion. And so it looks like everybody had the similar instinct, so we don't have to talk about it a bunch unless someone is really opposed.
Doesn't sound like it. So I'll do what I said I'll do under each.
Cool, thank you.
All right, so 4, I can vocalize this for Wayne. So it looks like he updated all the OKRs, and I think he means Q3 because when I click into Ally, this is the Q3 OKRs. Based on the exit criteria, I think this might need to shift a little bit based on what we just discussed under Eric's suggestion on phases. And it's related to what I had put under D. So what he has, if you click Ally, is he has basically a KR for each group or each stage, it looks like, or each section, excuse me. No? Yes, a stage and sections. Anyway, I think it's maybe a cleanup here on specifying create first as 1 KR. And then you can have the rest of them either as individual sections or as a bigger KR.
Makes
But why
sense.
don't we can wait? I guess maybe on this one, like when Wayne's back, I can touch base with him and catch him up on this discussion and then see if he wants to update it.
Yeah, I think this still mostly all applies, right? I mean, even if we're shooting for a November timeframe, that's still in the window of the quarter. So
Yeah.
I think it's more the timing of it.
Yep, it's just a minor adjustment, I think. Okay. If we're good on that one, we have a couple minutes. So I'm wondering on 5 if others share this concern, but I'm worried that we're still reliant on a database replica extract job to move data from the production instance to our data warehouse, and then we're looking at those results. Are others as concerned as me? Should I not be concerned? Should we take some action out of this group to help push on either the data team? I'm not actually sure. I don't actually know where the root cause of the problem is, to be honest, but push on this and see if we can make it better. Or are we comfortable sort of living with an assumed latency of like 48-ish hours to not be able to review fresh data every day?
Just put it out there.
Yeah.
And to be clear, my +1 is I worry about it every day of Christopher's life too.
Okay.
So like you know, like so I think short of like, okay, maybe this is the best way to put it. Here, let's put it this way. Assuming that you have the right team in place and the right team is capable of solving this problem, it's going to take probably on the order of several months to address this. So do I think this needs to be addressed? Absolutely. If you're putting in the context of solving this particular problem, I don't think you can make this problem be solved in this working group.
Right. No,
So,
I agree with you. Yeah.
So if what you're proposing is, hey, we need to accept reality and we need to adjust our process based on reality, I think that's a very reasonable assumption here. Under the guise of, yes, we do still need this problem addressed, and we need to consider building this into the product if that's what we ultimately do, or going to what we considered real-time updates with more arcane technology, for lack of a better way to put it, realities, right? Or look at things differently. Like as an example, we go to boards and we say, you know, weights on top of the boards is actually going to show us what we want. And that's how we're categorize things, right? And that's just like, so we can look at it in real time. So to me, those are the two options. One, figure out in the tool how we hack it for ourselves so that we can basically address it. 2, get a feature capability. Or 3, go actually fix the problem, which will take multiple months, but acknowledge the fact that it's not going to solve this. And the working group's timeframes don't match up with this.
Yeah, I think
I think my question, Justin, would be, is it more important to have manage align their efforts to delivering in product experience versus trying to get the data team to fix this issue?
Both. I don't think it's an either or proposition. Like you're trading off resourcing maybe, but like I think we need both of those to be a successful company.
Yeah, I mean, we are pushing on them to contribute to that experience, the data team. So, because not that this data directly relates to Christopher, but they were trying to build DevOps scorecards using the data coming out of the product. And if they're going to probably say, well, which one's more important for us to contribute to that or fix this thing? And my answer is going to be contribute to the product. So there might be a trade-off.
Okay.
Can't guarantee it, but it could be.
My take on this, I think it's the latter of what Christopher articulated. Like it's accept reality within the context of this working group. And then I think as maybe an up level or outside of this working group, you know, whether it's me and others from product leadership and engineering leadership, go and push on the data team to come up with a plan to get this healthy. Because I do think there's value in, you know, we use it for, not to say we won't maybe replace this someday with product analytics, but we also use it for like product managers to report on usage of their features in the product as well. And that's also delayed by at least that long.
But what is healthy, right? Like healthy right now is 48 hours is the minimum time. Usually it's a lot longer than that at times where they're not manually updating things because things are not running really well right now there, right? So like that getting healthy to even 48 hours is a task, and getting to 24 hours is probably where they're going to be. And you know, what do we need it to be? Do we need to be 4 to 8 hours? I think that's probably where we need to be.
Yeah.
Which is it's a pretty big ask. Like,
Yeah, my observation too, and one of the reasons I brought this up is an observability problem, I think, as well. Like, we're the ones that seem to find out when the data is delayed, and we're the ones that are reporting the incident, not the other way around, right? Like, Lily isn't telling us proactively that the data is behind because she saw it. We're asking questions and then having to go open an incident or something like that. So,
well, Lily is not responsible for telling us either, right? Like,
right,
that's
correct. Yes.
she's discovering it as much as we are.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take an action here to well, it sounds like maybe Lily, if you know more on this, I can probably follow up with Wayne first.
Yeah, I don't have the issue handy, but I believe that Wayne is working with the data team on kind of the SLOs and see what we can do there, knowing that we are quite like delayed, sometimes 48 or sometimes even more.
Okay.
So he's opened that conversation with them. I don't know where that's landed, but I believe there's an issue somewhere, so we'll have to find that somewhere.
Okay, I'll follow up with Wayne and start there and see what progress he's made, and then we can go from there. Okay, thanks all for entertaining my question.
Yeah,
Anything else?
we can help push on Thursday too. We have a bi-weekly sync with the data team. The SLO hasn't been coming up there, but I'll do my part to help push there on
Okay.
on our side.
Thanks, Mac. All right, any other agenda items for today? All right, if not, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day.